Thank you so much for having Keshif be or participate in this event. I'm very excited to connect with different organizations from Colombia working on at the intersection of data and humanitarian aid. I will try to be as brief as possible. Are you hearing me? All good, Gigi? Very good. I'll try to be as brief as possible. My goal is to briefly present what Keshif is about as a technology and as a team. I will give a couple of more in-depth case studies or use cases in the field of humanitarian aid. I will try to spend 2 minutes on showing you what in reality the technology is about with a live demo, and then if time permits or during the Q&A, I will go over different use cases that may fit more to the needs and to the work you do. At the core of what we do, we are a visual exploratory analytics technology. We build our own unique technology, which makes transformation of raw data into highly interactive dashboards very easy. And how the goal or the mission of our technology is to really reduce the barriers for non-data scientists to get to insights as quick as possible. We work with different organizations in the international development sector. We support them throughout the whole life cycle of data analytics, from designing methodologies to collecting data, to creating complex workflow to collect data, to transformations, and at the end, you bring them into Keshif, and then you have those portals with ample opportunities to interact with data. I'm not going to talk specifically to, or I'm not going to follow specifically each section of the presentation, because I know you're going to have it with you afterwards and you can read more about our history, our team, etc. But at the core of what we do and the work that we do in development is we work with surveys, with incident tracking, with indicators over time and across themes and geography, financial transactions, media monitoring, etc. For us, the language of work is columns and rows, and we are agnostic to the types of topics that you may have. One of the case studies that I'd like to delve in that I think is familiar or probably would be of benefit or value to you to know is the field monitoring for humanitarian aid that we had done or we have implemented for UNICEF in South Sudan. This is an application that helps the organization and their monitoring and evaluation team to not only understand impact interventions and gaps that that they're trying to based on their work, but also as a case management tool, or what they call an action points tracker. They're able to see when someone goes to the field and fills in an information about each on the field, meaning in a refugee camp or IDP camp, or in a psychosocial services a clinic. They go and they have a set of questions that they ask using phones, offline or online. And then once they see something that needs quick attention, then they raise that and create an action tracker. For example, often they find it that, when they go to an IDP camp, a fridge where vaccines are stored has been broken, or vaccines are expiring. So they raise that alarm, and then through automated means, using data and using these online and offline forms, they're able to fulfill these orders to go and respond to immediate needs that each different type of community or clinic may need. We've done data collection using Kobo Toolbox. There is real-time integration, and then the team at UNICEF in Juba, in the capital, they go and basically use the data to continuously learn how they're doing in terms of analysis or in terms of interventions. Another point that another case study that I'd like to delve a bit more than others is incident tracking. For us, these are events data: who, what, when, where we try to understand if you can think of events being a grant, events being an incident of violence. It could be an incident of humanitarian catastrophe or disaster. So think of a monsoon or a flood. A flood happens at one time in a given geography that has a certain impact that leads to this many deaths, this many destructions of property, this many injuries, and then a source, etc. So as Keshif, our visual analytics and exploratory design really brings the best out of that kind of data to enable analysis, overview of incidents, but also transformation of these incidents into more aggregate data, what we call, that you can look at them over time across geographies and compare place to place or indicator to indicator. I'd like to take 2 minutes, I hope I'm still on time, to go into a real live scenario. And then after that, I will just go 5 seconds on other use cases that may be that may resonate with you, and then in the Q&A session we will be able to then discuss those in more depth. So this is the journey to self-reliance. Those of you working with USAID, you understand a bit of the framework. There is a lot there's 2 core dimensions, capacity and commitment, and then there's a lot of indicators that lead to that score for capacity or dimension, and then there's a lot of sub-indicators that lead to each score going hierarchically. So what Keshif does is basically brings the same data and provides power through different perspectives. One of them is if we just look at the capacity score of countries around the world, right? We can see where Latin America fits in terms of color. So the redder, the worse, the bluer, the better, or the stronger the capacity is. And then I guess we are looking in Latin America in general, more so in the middle. We can use tools like Keshif to just focus on the given geography. We can, this is the 2018 data, but maybe we can animate that so we can see over time how the journey of these countries in Latin America is changing. That is one way to look at it. For example, those of you focusing on Bolivia or Colombia or Peru, you can see quick snapshots of these. Then you can potentially rank these countries and see, for example, 2018, which countries have been, let's stick to GDP since usually it's the easiest. So we can see Trinidad and Tobago, Bahamas. So mostly Central American islands have a higher GDP per capita than the more mainland countries, right? And then we see Chile being one of the top. And then we can go back and look, country by country and see how this has changed over time. And it seems like GDP per capita really has stayed same. Maybe these countries in the middle section have shown a bit of a difference. How can we look at the same data from a different perspective? So let's look at it from the time perspective. We can see that the country with the lowest capacity score per this methodology is Haiti. And we can see that Barbados and Chile are the top. And then we can see the journey over time, how they're doing. But how about if we rank them against each other and see who used to be top and who used to be second and who used to be third? So you can see that Chile has moved from third in 2010 to second in 2018. Maybe we can start to look at Colombia, right? Since you guys are all or mostly from there. So if we look at just the capacity score, the country's journey over the past 10 years has been really moving up. So, being the 15th and now being on the 11th. How about we change a bit? We slightly look at it from a different perspective. So we can say since 2015, which countries had a higher change, positive or negative. So we can see Suriname, Haiti, and Venezuela really have gone down in terms of their capacity score, and Jamaica, Colombia are kind of two of the main or the best performers. The same way we can look at the data, but from a more comparative point of view. So GDP per capita versus commitment, and then the size can be civil society capacity. And then we can see where each country is at what time of the year. Lastly, we can potentially look at, oh, sorry, I intended to click on Colombia, but we can just go into these two scores. So we can see overall the country has been doing very well in, or has been steadily increasing in both dimensions. If we look at it hierarchically, what is driving these dimensions up? Well, citizen capacity seems one of them. Not the government capacity, although from 2017 to 2018 we see, while there was a decrease over time, we see an increase, and then other pieces like civil society seems quite high overall. So this is a bit of what we think as an exploratory technology, how we make one type of data set available or bring insights from different perspectives. And in each perspective that we look at, we get a different type of outcome. And this is the whole point, our mission of Keshif is to make data more democratic and more transparent. So when you are analyzing, you don't just get a static insight out of it, but you get dynamic insights depending on how you look at those. Other tools, we work with survey analytics. These are two complex survey-driven tools with the World Bank and with central banks around the world. Others are indicators over time, looking at the state of media or the state of civil society worldwide. These are both USAID-driven projects. Media and disinformation, if some of you are working on the field, this is how we build data collection and automation tools for real-time analytics. So we create data ingests for social media. We build, workflow forms. So, teams on the ground can review traditional media and then enter information pertaining to the methodology and be able to analyze them. Impact evaluations, program monitoring, knowledge management. This is a recent work that we're doing, elections and political processes. We're working in Kosovo. We're also working in Uganda on creating dynamic GIS-based hyper-local insights for results. And then if you are doing network analysis, seeing how each entity connects to another and how that may mean across different types of variables. And then lastly, more or so is how we use our expertise and technology to really help organizations such as yours to be able to become more data-driven in advancing your missions and the work that you're doing. So this, from my end, is a very brief introduction. My hope was that I can give you a bit of a taste of the technology, but also a taste of or a taste of what the tools or applications that we built for different entities in the field. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias por tu intervención y aquí dejamos el espacio abierto para los asistentes si tienen alguna pregunta. Entonces, si la tienen, adelante. Parece que no, parece que todo quedó muy claro, Bejar. Igual les vamos a compartir.
Well, I'll be happy to talk more or show more.
Quieren, no sé, pues veo aquí uno en el chat, Lindsay, dice que muchas gracias y que es muy interesante aprender sobre tu herramienta de mapeo. No sé, Carlos Reyes, si tienes alguna pregunta.
Un cordial saludo, Béjar, de verdad muy impresionado con las formas de visualización. Bueno, solamente quizás una gran inquietud que veo al principio de tu presentación, que las recolecciones a través de los celulares y digamos esos formularios no son estáticos sino dinámicos para tomar algunas novedades, poder de pronto tomar acciones que el donante pueda tomar. Mi única pregunta ahí sería los retos que ustedes tienen, que enfrentan con estas tecnologías de recolección. Hablaban de recolección fuera de línea, hay tiempos reales, pero en zonas muy difíciles de acceso a comunicación. ¿Cuáles son los retos que ustedes enfrentan para poder comunicarse y transmitir la data? Esa es mi inquietud.
No, I think that's a very good question, and it's really quite pertinent to the industry or to the domain where we work, especially in humanitarian aid or non-permissive environments. I use the example of South Sudan. South Sudan, I've been to Colombia and I've been to South Sudan, and the infrastructure, telecommunications infrastructure, is very different. The country, South Sudan, is data starved. But it's also infrastructure starved. It's very rural, and being able to connect to the internet is considered a luxury. Luckily, we live now in a day and age where we see technologies springing up from all walks of life. And one of them is data collection tools. We don't build data collection tools from scratch. We do not recommend it to our clients. What we do is we use existing tools. And in this particular project, we used Kobo Toolbox. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's a very easy to use and data or a survey tool that anyone can just sign up and start creating forms for free. What this enables is that using the phone, using the browser of the phone, you will be able to collect the data offline. And then the minute or the second you connect to internet, then that offline form will go into the servers online. So these are the ways that we kind of try to think through ways we break, to fill in these, gaps, especially access to internet.